Whenever I think of the Harry Potter saga, the first thing that comes to mind is the magical piece of music, Hedwig's theme. There are undoubtedly way more prominent features of these films, but Hedwig's theme is a perfect main melody that encapsulates everything the saga is about. It appropriately evokes wonder and magic as Harry explores the wizarding world, nostalgia when you hear it accompanying sweeping wide shots of Hogwarts. Resultingly, this is the perfect main theme for the saga, and to be fair, for the overall saga, it is the main theme. But it's so perfect and it's become so synonymous with Harry Potter that it's really easy to forget that in the later installments, the series actually changes its main theme. Hedwig's theme was composed by John Williams, who wrote the music for the first 3 Potter films, which is incidentally why it's the most prominent within these 3. Number 4 had its music written by Patrick Doyle, 5 and 6 by Nicholas Hooper, and while it's used a lot less in these respective scores, Hedwig's theme is still their primary melody. The soundtracks that Alexandre Desplat composed for both of the Deathly Hallows films, though, only reference this iconic piece of music. Probably the most immediate point of reference for the dwindling prominence of Hedwig's theme in the Potter saga relates to how present it is in the opening titles. As the series progresses, the theme remains there, but it admittedly becomes more subdued the further we go. The instrumentation becomes less layered, more depressing melodies take over midway through the titles to the point where, in the opening for Deathly Hallows Part 1, the main melody of Hedwig's theme is only just audible above the sound of screeching metal. Since this piece is tied to ideas of wonder, magic, and nostalgia, it's only appropriate that it's obscured here as we're about to follow Harry, Ron, and Hermione beyond Hogwarts into a world ruled by Voldemort. To align the musical tone with this darker and more sinister story, Alexandre Desplat actively chose to avoid pieces like Hedwig's theme, saying that we tried to keep away from the magic world of Harry Potter. The heroes are facing the real world. This is also why Hedwig's theme is less present than before. It still does pop up on a couple of rare occasions to remind us of the loss of innocence that this film represents, but overall, Hedwig's theme isn't the main theme of Deathly Hallows Part 1. In fact, Deathly Hallows Part 1 doesn't really have a main theme at all. The closest thing to an overarching musical idea that it has is the piece Obliviate. However, the score more so moves between multiple themes dependent on the situation, the location, or the character. After all, Harry, Ron, and Hermione have left Hogwarts in this film, so the ambiguity of a musical theme appropriately reflects the ambiguity in their adventure. As we enter the final Potter film, the sense of despair is palpable. Deathly Hallows Part 1 ended on such a depressing and morbid note, and the opening for Part 2 only solidifies this feeling. As the opening titles play, for the first time in the entire franchise, Hedwig's theme doesn't accompany them in any capacity. Sure, as the franchise has grown darker with each installment, it's become more and more subdued, but it's always been there. It's acted as this musically magical anchor to welcome us back into the wizarding world, but here in Part 2, it's replaced by an entirely new theme. This piece of music is called Lily's theme, and it's not just played over the opening titles here, but it's the theme song for the entire film. It almost feels sacrilegious to have a Harry Potter film where the main theme isn't Hedwig's theme, but Desplat's choice to write an entirely new composition feels incredibly appropriate. Over the course of the film, we're gonna watch Hogwarts be destroyed, countless characters that we've come to love and care for be killed. Nostalgia, magic, and hope don't need to be evoked here, as Part 2 is mainly concerned with destroying these ideals. Additionally, dubbing this piece of music Lily's theme is incredibly appropriate. The deaths of Lily and James Potter are shadows that haven't just underlined Harry's entire life, but each of these movies. From the grim flashback of their murders in Philosopher's Stone to the visit to their graves in Deathly Hallows Part 1, their deaths have made a lasting impact on this series. Musically categorizing it with a mournful theme is only appropriate. It only makes more sense for it to be the theme for this installment of the franchise, as the memory of Lily's character is so important here. It's revealed that Snape fell in love with her at a young age, and the result of this has seen him working as a double agent for Dumbledore for years. While this is only revealed in the pensive scene at the end of the film, as video essayist Good Blood points out, by playing Lily's theme over shots like this one of Snape gazing over the grounds of Hogwarts, Desplat utilizes musical foreshadowing to hint at the connection between the characters before it's ever revealed to the audience. There's a moment in The Half-Blood Prince when Harry is attempting to retrieve an important memory regarding Voldemort's youth from Professor Slughorn. The story has seen him try again and again to do so, and while a major part of his eventual success has to do with him drinking a potion of liquid luck, it's this line that really causes his triumph.
Be brave, Professor. Be brave like my mother.
In spite of the sadness that so predominantly clouds the death of the Potters, the series always remembers that beneath their murders is an act of sacrifice, love, and bravery, and this is something that Desplat never forgets either during his score. As Harry, Ron, and Hermione escape Gringotts on the back of a dragon in Part 2, the piece that plays over the top builds to an eventual crescendo. As the trio soar over London after stealing a Horcrux, a grand and triumphant iteration of Lily's theme plays that captures the bravery and heroism of their actions. This moment doesn't only show the melody's ability to evoke a wide range of emotions, but it serves as a reminder of what underlines the narrative of Deathly Hallows Part 2. After reaching the 8th film in this saga, it's so crushing to watch this world we love be destroyed. And while Lily's theme might serve as an appropriately melancholy main melody for the film, it's still strange to hear it take up that role of Hedwig's theme. But beneath all the grief and the tragedy are the heroic actions of the characters and the undoubtable sense of bravery they all possess. Desplat's choice to make the final Harry Potter film have a main melody that isn't Hedwig's theme is a little strange at first, but it's one that doesn't only capture the tragic heroism of its titular character, but of the film story as a whole. Perhaps my favourite thing about Lily's theme being the main theme for Deathly Hallows Part 2 is that it really displays Desplat's understanding of exactly what Hedwig's theme means. Yet, it lacks prominence throughout the soundtrack, but it's used in little fragments that are never allowed to complete themselves. It's almost like Desplat's teasing the audience, teasing the characters with this comforting idea of nostalgia that we're so desperately yearning for. Finally though, when we reach the 19 years later epilogue, we're treated to that feeling. The piece that plays over this final scene is called Leaving Hogwarts. It's not composed by Desplat, but it's a piece that played during the final scene of Philosopher's Stone that John Williams wrote. Immediately, it's clear that this is something different to the rest of the Deathly Hallows score. Williams' soundtracks are incredibly warm and rich, and here at the end of the saga, the music lets us know that this world is inviting and magical again. The lack of a theme in Part 1 and the changes to Lily's theme in Part 2 were incredibly important, but now that Harry and his friends get to live out their lives, we're allowed to bask in the comfort of this franchise again. As the Hogwarts Express pulls away and the final shot pushes into Harry, Ron, and Hermione, Williams' piece ends on the nostalgic motif of Hedwig's theme, closing the franchise with a final reminder of its magic.